Hello everyone, greetings to you all. Thank you for joining me on the channel. So this video is the second part of the video on pronouns. So if you are coming across this video probably as a suggestion from YouTube, this is the second video, this is the second part. The link to the first video on pronouns is in this video's description. You may check it now so that you can have access to the full lesson. Without wasting much of our time, let's continue from where we stopped in the first video. So we move to number 4, interrogative pronouns. These are pronouns we use to ask questions. We use interrogative pronouns to ask questions. Example, who, whose, which, what, when, and etc. Let's come to the examples in sentences. Example A. What did you write on the paper? What is an interrogative pronoun. Example B. Whose name is this? Whose name is this? Whose is an interrogative pronoun. Example C. Which of the boys broke the mug? Which of the boys broke the mug? Example D. Who drove the red jeep this morning? Who drove the red jeep this morning? So all these are examples of interrogative pronouns. Before we go to the next pronoun, I want us to discuss some things about each of these interrogative pronouns. Let's begin with who. Who is used for human beings in the subject position. Who is an interrogative pronoun that we use for human beings, and it usually occurs in the subject positions. And that's what we have in example D. Who drove the red jeep this morning? Now, whom is also used for human being, but it occurs in the object positions. So, object positions, object of a verb, object of a preposition. Either of the two, we use whom in the object positions. While whose is the possessive form. It's used for human being, but in the possessive form. Let's come to example B. Whose name is this? Like you're asking, who is the owner of this name? So, whose is used in the possessive form for human being. Let's come to which. W-H-I-C-H, which is used when you have more than one option. When you have more than one options to select or to ask question from. Which of the boys broke the mug? It means we have more than one boy. So we use which. Then we have what. What in most cases is used for non-human beings. We use what to ask questions when the question we are asking does not relate to human being. What did you write on the paper? So we use what for things. What? Now when is used when we're asking questions that are related to time. When we're asking questions that are related to time. When? When did your daddy return? When are you coming to visit us? So when is used to ask questions that are related to time. Number 5, relative pronouns. Relative pronouns. These are pronouns that are used to introduce relative clauses. E.g., who, whose, whom, which, that. Some of the examples in the interrogative pronoun are also here in the relative pronouns. Yes, they are arguably those same pronouns. Are you with me? But the way we use them and where we use them in this case is different. In the interrogative pronouns, we use them to ask questions, while in the relative pronouns, we use them to introduce relative clauses. Let's come to example here that will make us understand better. I know a boy who can drive a lorry. I know a boy who can drive a lorry. In this case, who is not an interrogative pronoun because we are not using it to ask a question. Instead, we are using it in a clause that describes the boy. Who can drive a lorry is not a question in this case. It is a relative clause that is describing a boy. A boy who can drive a lorry. So because we use who at the beginning of that clause, we say it is a relative pronoun. The clause is called a relative clause. And the pronoun that we use at the beginning of that clause is called a relative pronoun. Example B. The girl whose purse was stolen was very sad. The girl whose purse was stolen was very sad. In this case, whose is a relative pronoun that introduces the relative clause, whose purse was stolen. Example C. Danladi sat on the chair which was closest to the wall. Danladi sat on the chair which was closest to the wall. So which is a relative pronoun here because we use it to introduce the relative clause which was closest to the wall. Let's come to number 6, reciprocal pronouns. Reciprocal pronouns, these are the pronouns that express mutual relationship or connection. Reciprocal pronouns are the pronouns that express mutual relationship or connection. The only two reciprocal pronouns in English are each other and one another. Please take note of this. We have only two reciprocal pronouns, each other and one another. Each other is used when we are talking about two people or two things, while one another is used whenever we are talking about more than two persons or more than two things. Example A. The two girls never spoke to each other. The two girls never spoke to each other. Each other is a reciprocal pronoun. Girl A never spoke to girl B. Girl B never spoke to girl A. The two girls never spoke to each other. So each other is a reciprocal pronoun. B. In my family, we love one another. In my family, we love one another. In this case, the speaker is implying that there are more than two members in the family. The speaker here, I say, implies that we have more than two members in the family. In my family, we love one another. Example C. James and Musa always stand in for each other. James and Musa always stand in for each other. It means James stands in for Musa and Musa stands in for James. Example D. James, Musa and John always stand in for one another. So in example D, when there are more than two, we now use one another. So please take note of this. Each other for two, one another for more than two. Number 7, reflexive pronouns. A reflexive pronouns is used as an object to show that the pronoun is the same person or thing as the subject. So whenever we use reflexive pronouns, we are trying to say that the object is the same person as the subject. So in other words, the subject is performing an action on itself because it's also the object. The popular name we call the reflexive pronouns is the self pronouns. The self pronouns. Example, myself, yourself, yourselves, ourselves, themselves, itself, herself, etc. Now let's come to the examples in sentences. The hunter shot himself in the leg. The hunter shot himself in the leg. Of course, the hunter is the subject and is also the object because he shot himself. He is the giver of the action, is also the receiver of the action. Now let's come to example B. I often spoke to myself when I was alone. I often spoke to myself. I am the subject, I am also the object. You too should be ashamed of yourselves. You too means you are talking to two people here. You too should be ashamed of yourselves. So these are reflexive pronouns. Let's come to number 8, intensive pronouns. You have to note that in some cases we teach intensive and reflexive pronouns together, but in this video I have decided to treat them separately. Intensive pronouns refer back to the subject for the sake of emphasis. So we have to differentiate between the reflexive pronouns and the intensive pronouns. In reflexive pronouns, the subject also occurs as the object. The subject performs the action almost on him or herself in the reflexive pronouns. But in the intensive pronoun, we use intensive pronouns for the sake of emphasis. They are the same pronouns: myself, yourself, yourselves, ourselves, themselves, etc. Now let's come to the examples. With the examples, we can easily differentiate between the intensive pronouns and the reflexive pronouns. The manager himself paid for the party. The manager himself paid for the party. So here, himself is like an emphasis. We are trying to emphasize that the manager paid for the party from his own pocket. So intensive pronouns are more like appositives. If you want to know more about appositives, kindly see my video on the functions of noun. I'm going to try to make the video display right on the top of this video, but if I'm unable to do that, I'm going to put the link to that video in the description of this one that you are currently seeing. So intensive pronouns are like appositives. The manager himself paid for the party. I myself was caught unawares. I myself was caught unawares. So myself here is just the same person as I, but we use it for the sake of emphasis. The people themselves wanted a new leader. The people themselves wanted a new leader. Themselves here is just an emphasis for the people. I believe you'll be able to differentiate between reflexive pronouns and intensive pronouns. Now, here I have, listed some correct forms of the self pronouns, whether as reflexive pronouns or as intensive pronouns. The correct ones are myself, yourself, yourselves, ourselves, themselves, themself, itself, herself, and himself. These are the correct forms of the self pronouns. The ones below are the wrong ones, and you should avoid using them in sentences because they are wrong. As a matter of fact, any good dictionary will not have these words. So take note of them. The first one is their self. Their self or their selves. It does not exist. Ourself. Ourself does not exist because our is a plural pronoun. So when you want to use ourself, the self must be in plural form. So in English, we only have ourselves. There is no ourself. Then itself is self. It does not exist. Myselfs. My is first person singular. It's singular. So we cannot have myselfs. It's supposed to be myself, not myselfs, because my is singular. Itselfs does not exist. So we're supposed to have itself. Herselfs supposed to be a self. Himselfs, these two supposed to be himself because him is singular. So the self is also going to be singular, not selves. So we are in number 9, which is the last on the list. Demonstrative pronouns. These are pronouns used to point to specific people or things. These are pronouns that we use to point to specific people or things. Demonstrative pronouns. There are 4 of them. So demonstrative pronouns belong to the close group because we have only 4 of them, not more than 4. Number 1 is this. Number 2 is that. Number 3 is this. Number 4 is those. So number 1, this, THIS, is used for a person or an object that is singular and that is near to the speaker. Singular near. That is used for a person or an object that is far away from the speaker. While number 3, THESE, this, is used for people or things that are plural and they are near to the speaker. While those, THOSE, is used for people or things that are plural and of course far from the speaker. Example A, this is my book. So this here is a demonstrative pronoun. Example B, aren't those your friends? Aren't those your friends? Those in this case is an example of demonstrative pronouns. Of course, I should make this clear distinction between demonstrative pronouns and demonstrative adjectives. When these demonstrative pronouns have nouns in front of them, they are no longer pronouns, they are demonstrative adjectives. For example, in example here, where we have this is my book. If we have this book is my book, because we have book immediately after this is no longer a pronoun. It is an adjective that is modifying the book that is directly in the front. But since the book is not in the front, we just say this is my book. It is a pronoun. So in future videos, I'm going to make a video to give a clear differences between demonstrative pronouns and demonstrative adjectives, between possessive pronouns and the possessive adjectives. So I believe you've learned something. Do not forget, subscribe to this channel, turn on the notification bell, and recommend this channel to your friends, to your classmates, to your kids, to your friends' kids. Thank you. Bye-bye.